Testing, 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 testing. I think this will work. jumping on momentarily. I'm just getting some loose ends tied up, get some things configured, and I'll be on and popping pretty soon here. On and popping real soon. Get started here momentarily. Just want to play this little bit of a commercial spot. I don't like how I sound here. I sound like I'm in an echo chamber or whatever. I just moved my mic around. I'm not sure I like where it's at.
Bolster your immune system, help alleviate stress. Take in those minerals and vitamins that you really need. Nutrients like vitamin B, omega fatty acids 3, 6, and 9, and many more nutrients. More Beauty now offers hemp seed oil. We all know that health is wealth. We must do all we can to maintain it. More Beauty offers 100% hemp seed oil, a natural option. Hemp seed oil, available from More Beauty. Order yours today from theembassyofthemoors.org. theembassyofthemoors.org.
And this is how we pretty much like to start. So there you have it. I am your host, Dolph Day, for another day of, some people might say it's rambling. I don't necessarily think it's that way. Hold on a second. I'm just having I'm having the time just trying to sort my microphone out, making sure that it sounds right, that you can hear me okay. Can you hear me? Yeah, you can. I can hear myself through my headphones. Good day, everyone. Today being Thursday, cornballs like to call it Thursday Eve, or Friday Eve, rather. I don't consider myself to be in that category of cornball, but you might think so. My approach to most things in life has become to not necessarily worry about what people think. It's mainly about what people say. Because people follow, other people around and their influences and everything like that. And what ends up happening is they're persuaded. People are persuaded to follow certain people and their beliefs and what they project. So I'm not necessarily one of those people. I make up my own damn mind most of the time. I mean, yeah, there's influence because, we're programmed. All of us are programmed. And I got news for you. And I say this in through various topics of discussion. I don't have any script on me right now. I got a bunch of notes to set the stage. I just have a bunch of notes around me, a couple of notebooks, a few books, one particular booklet, though, that I keep next to me is the United States Constitution. And the funny thing of it is, when those were issued to us, back in my previous employ that I retired from, I never opened it up. Brother Bakari in the house. Shout out to Brother Bakari. Hey, man. Good day to you, brother. And I had it in my shirt pocket, my uniform shirt pocket. It's a little booklet. If you've ever seen it, I would show you a picture, and I don't really feel like opening my camera up right now because I'm at a pretty relaxed stage. But anyway, it's a small booklet that's about the size that'll fit in the palm of your hand, right? And they're actually freely distributed. You could find them. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to go to Amazon unless you really want something pretty ornate. You can download it from the Library of Congress. I would highly implore and suggest for anyone within the sound of my voice to get a copy of the United States Constitution booklet. Because ignorance of the law is no excuse. And unfortunately, be that as it may, we actually have to abide by a set of laws because, if you are under conformity and you are not, and I don't want to use one of those catchwords. I don't even know if I'm being shadow banned or not. I don't necessarily care at this point. I really don't. If I ran around all day worrying about being shadow banned, then I wouldn't get anything out. And I'm not gonna get anything out anyway because I don't really have an audience base. But that's okay. I'm in the process of building. Anyway, the Constitution is a very vital document. It is a contract between members of the people of the Republic that was ratified and signed by those who were representing the Union of States. And when I use the term republic, I've come to understand and regard that it does not mean Republican Party. It means a coalition or a confederate of people. And there's another word again, confederacy. I mean, those that reside in the Deep South, but I've had the opportunity of touring the Deep South for a number of years and hadn't experienced Deep South mentality per se until I was about 40, 41.
Prior to that, I've always been west of the Mississippi. That was kind of my way of thinking. Because I'm not bashing anything or anybody. The deep South mentality was pretty much, I don't know if there's a deep South mentality or what, but I guess you can say an old fashioned mentality was something that we kind of distanced ourselves from. I'll be honest. You know, the words that were used and stuff and language and stuff, and I wasn't permitted to even say ain't during the course of informal conversation. So by virtue of that alone, that put me in the position of having to be a conformist, not fully recognizing who I was, and I've had to learn and know myself in order to be the best representation of my ancestors. You see how I did that? You see how I did that? You see how I did that? It's kind of slick right there. Anyway, I'm just having a little fun. And hopefully I'm not taking up too much of your time. I'm always kind of like thinking of that. I'm trying to be considerate of other people and thinking that, you know, I don't want to get on here and just ramble. And at the same time, I'm not here to entertain you with buffoonery. I mean, I'm not a humorless person. I've had people to tell me that I have a dry wit and that I'm funny. I've had people tell me that. And I take a lot of things that people tell me kind of to heart, because not that I'm looking to be liked by everybody, but at least I've gotten through to people. And that is the whole purpose and scope of, well, everything that I'm doing here along this path of learn more truth, learning more chronicles. So I just want to put that disclaimer up there on the screen. Those of you that are watching live or may catch this later, that, you know, about the views and opinions and just putting that up there to CYA. Pretty much my, hold on a second. Let me change up something here. Pretty much my mental ethos is everyone was thinking it. I just said it. And I actually have been in conversations with people that have been shy or bashful and were reluctant to actually put out any information, to actually get and speak on it, right? So I've actually somewhat positioned myself to talk for other people, not as their spokesman, really, but just to, you know, use them as a sounding board, or they could use me as a sounding board. And I've actually kind of put myself out there to a very, very limited circle of people that aren't as comfortable about coming on here and talking and speaking. I'm not saying that I'm all that comfortable, because I never really went to a Toastmasters or anything like that, but I am experienced in addressing groups of people. I'm experienced in addressing certain situations relative to making requests, outright commanding people to do what needed to be done at that time. But sometimes that comes with a cost, because people misunderstand it. They misunderstand, and they think that you're being arrogant. They think you're being too demanding. They think that you're narcissistic. But I would encourage people to look up those definitions, the definitions of the word narcissistic specifically, because I never leveraged myself or put myself on the plateau as being an egomaniac or a control freak. However, I do operate the platforms that I have begun to develop in my own way, whereby there are certain things that I will accept, and there's other things I will not. And I will tell people that if you don't like how I move, YouTube is free. Create your own channel. I might support it. But there's just certain things that I won't necessarily tolerate. And I don't necessarily have to go through housekeeping. You know, it's just common sense. You know, aside from going by, what do you call it, community standards that they set out. You know, it's just having common sense, man. Dealing with people respectfully, in a respectful tone, respectful manner. And, you know, somewhat disclosure, I might have lost myself a little bit in a recent group chat that I was involved in. Not that it was anything that I really went completely off on, but when you're actually trying to position yourself in a conversation, you just want to make things clear to people. And at times I do feel compelled to do that. And that is something that I'm actually working through, because I don't want to appear pushy or anything like that. However, I'll let you know where I stand, right? Without being rude or abrupt. I've been accused of being abrupt before in certain scenarios. It's just a natural part. Even having nothing to, just to be clear, I left law enforcement about 10 years ago. And I'm just going to play this back again. Well, not really play it back, but I'm just going to show you a photograph here. That's my class photo. I'm not sure if you can make me out. But that is my class photo from back in the 90s. Very rare airspace indeed. So, not that I'm some kind of domineering control freak. I'm working those things through. I just don't like being out of control. I don't like for anyone else to try to control me either. I like to stand on my own too, or my own, what 10 toes down is what they say now. 10 toes down. And I strongly believe in that. I strongly believe in my convictions in that manner, and how I conduct my business and conduct my life. And we say that, I don't give a, I don't GAF. Yeah, largely that's how I feel. I typically just remain unbothered about a lot of things around me. And I strive to be at this level of unbotheredness throughout my life. And there are some things that bother me, but I don't really let on to it. You have to put on that game face more often than not when you're conducting yourself out in public. So yeah, I don't know the why behind the impulse of me being here. I just know that I'm glad to be here with you today, and that you're able to listen to this. I'm grateful for you for being able to listen to me today, whether now or in the future, because if I can help it, this is not going anywhere. As far as this channel that I am developing, it's in the process of growing out. This is my, I'll say this is probably like my 4th attempt at doing this over the span of roughly 5-6 years. And even within that time span, technology has gotten somewhat better. After I procured some of the equipment, I realized I really didn't need it, because a lot of the devices from the palm of your hand are actually sufficient. And what I really wanted to do in that, when I procured my equipment, was to make sure it was fairly top notch for what I could afford. And because I've always had inspiration, or I've always had a desire to be in radio. But I ended up with a case of bad timing, because they dealt away with a lot of terrestrial radio, especially black, quote unquote, black radio. That was even less of an advantage anyway, because especially black talk radio, that was left for AM stations. We don't have any of that anymore. Have we? Well, with a very few exceptions. I mean, there's still some talk radio today that's actually still terrestrial and also in podcast format. I posted something to my Instagram today, I believe, about the Carl Nelson show, which I do follow, or I do watch. I hate to say follow, but there's people that I watch and I value their assessment and their take on things, and their points of view. And I've been approached on numerous occasions throughout years that I should articulate myself and get out here and present my point of view, regardless of what it is. I mean, as long as it's something that people can learn from. I don't put myself in the position as teacher, even though I have actually trained people before in a few capacities, among which is the most. I tend to go back to this a lot, because it's among the most dynamic experiences I've had in my life is to work in the police profession as a sheriff's deputy. I was not a police officer. I was a sheriff's deputy. There's a difference. And it's something that I take stock in. It's something that I think I brought more to the gig than what it brought me, even though I did receive some incredible training that I still carry with me today. Literally. As is probably known and probably not widely out there, but it's made known, or I'm going to make known now, that I actually have been living in Texas, Lone Star State. And the first part of the month, the law was passed whereby anyone could carry a firearm without training or certification from the state. I would recommend anybody, in Texas anyway, anywhere really, to become familiar with the operation of a firearm, at least in a general sense. If whether or not you're going to carry, you need to be familiar about that. And also, too, those who are deciding to carry or are deciding to carry on a somewhat regular basis need to acquaint themselves with the legal aspects, and also with things dealing with weapon retention, physical retention of that firearm, because gun takeaways are a real thing. It's nothing like having that pistol that you're drawing down and low ready at someone, or even pretty much on sight with the target, and that target comes up and actually disassembles that firearm right in your hand. I've seen it happen in a controlled setting in training. I've seen it happen numerous times for refresher training and initial training. But that's something that's a real thing that can happen. And what I saw in the news recently, and actually I don't think I pulled up the image to even share, but there was a young lady, I don't know exactly where it was, but it was at a Subway sandwich shop. And let me see if I can plug in some things and search it up, get some more particulars. Apparently she had gotten into some hot water with the franchisee over disarming the suspect, robbery suspect. So let me see something. Let me just put in some words in the search and see, because I don't want it to seem like I'm talking out the side of my neck here. Yeah, that's probably something I could probably touch on a little bit. I don't know. The funny thing is, growing up where I did, you knew guns were there. I mean, I grew up in an era where, here it is, Illinois worker suspended after defending herself. Okay. Hold on a second. I might open this up. It says usacrime.com. Okay. Yeah. It says NBC. Yeah. It was in Rockford, Illinois. All right. I'll open it up and talk about it in a bit. Growing up where I grew up at during the formative years of my life, you would think that I'd be really a firearms advocate. And I am now, but I didn't grow up around guns. I grew up in the city. So I mean, my uncles were packing. You'll hear me talking about my uncles a lot because, well, they're no longer with us. As a matter of fact, one was killed as a result of gun violence in 1985, February, in front of witnesses. None of them came forth. Shot execution style. Multiple times. Why? Don't know. And he was unarmed. My uncle was. He was unarmed. And it was after one of his many vacations, after he got back on the street, and apparently had a disagreement with an individual who decided to take his life. So that's one of the more distressing things that took place, because I was all of about maybe 18, 19 years old, and having to go to the funeral in my full dress uniform I was in the Air Force at the time. Months before that, I saw him before I left for basic training, only to return and see him learn that he was shot dead. And I won't say the kicker, but the thing in this is that my grandmother, his mother, I won't say forecasted it, but she was clairvoyant. So she actually knew that something, she couldn't really put her finger on it, but she knew that something was going to happen. Not because of past history so much. I mean, grew up in the streets, man. 1950s and 60s, Los Angeles, South Central, Watts adjacent, in Watts for a time. And all the pitfalls and traps that come with it. And it's unfortunate because he was born, I think in 53? Died in 85. So y'all can do the math. So to say that does it affect me today? It does, because I'm mentioning it. That was another opportunity deprived. Yeah, sure. Okay. He was a petty criminal. Yeah. Okay. He did use street drugs. He did use drugs pretty heavily. As a matter of fact, among the drugs of choice was Sherm, PCP, angel dust. I saw him have an episode one day right before me. He's out on the street, standing on the street, going through an episode where a reasonable person could surmise that, well, he was loaded. Fortunately for him, police didn't show up. My remembrance of it is starting to become a bit more vague as a protective mechanism. But I remember sitting out in front one afternoon at the split level apartment I lived in with my mom. Outside, nice sunny day. Out on the set, man, out on the street, kids playing around, frolicking, doing what kids do. I must have been about probably 9 or 10, maybe 11. A lot of things happened in that time frame, including one of the last times I actually saw my father and spent time with him. But anyway, my uncle started taking his clothes off. I don't think he got completely naked, but he got pretty close. He didn't really get butt naked, but pretty close. But he was tripping on having an episode. Must have been a bad batch. Wasn't violent. He was just spazzing the hell out right there in the middle of the street one afternoon. Random. And I'm watching this. And, I'm actually in a stationary position watching. I'm actually upstairs on a landing and I'm watching him experience this. And sometime thereafter, because he lived in a what was referred to as a bachelor's flat towards the rear of the complex. It was a rather small complex. I have a picture of it. I actually could dig it up, of the complex, because a few years ago when I was out in California, I had driven by, I had the occasion to drive by actually that residence, and I took a photo of it. And the only thing that's changed on it is they've erected a fence around it, like a wrought iron fence, I think it is. And other than that, it still looks the same as it did in like 1975, 76, 77, 78. Seriously. So what does that tell you? That tells you they're not really investing in our communities. And it's been like that for a long time. But I'll touch on that in a moment, because it seems like I'm jumping around. I don't want to jump around too much. So I'm seeing my uncle in the street going through this episode, which, evidently subsided. And I don't recall the police being involved. I don't recall the helicopter orbiting above our heads or anything like that. I want to say that my mother was able to, get things situated with him. But anyway, after that had happened, and this is like pretty much one extreme case that happened in front of me. And I actually ended up writing a paper on it. It was an essay. This is around the time that a song by Gil Scott-Heron was released. And this is around the time that I believe a TV movie, I want to say it was on ABC, it was a movie about angel dust, but I do remember the song Angel Dust. I would play it now, but I don't want to get a copyright strike. I'm kind of experienced with music related copyright strikes. But I had written a paper. I want to say I was in 5th grade when I wrote this paper about the effects of drugs, more notably PCP. And I didn't get specifically detailed about that, but I remember I remember doing some research about drugs. I think I used some of the resource material that I had came from an encyclopedia. If y'all can remember encyclopedias, Funk and Wagnalls encyclopedias. I had the full volume, including the N dictionaries, one dictionary in each end or whatever it was. And I did some research in there. And I think I might have gone to the public library, but I did some moderately extensive research on the matter involving drugs because I was affected by it. Not only did this one uncle I mentioned, but my 2 other uncles were users, point blank. So I wrote this paper and I ended up getting an A grade on it. And as a matter of fact, I still may have it somewhere in my storage unit. I still might even have that paper because I had been writing since about 8 or 9 years old, around that time period, and writing fairly consistently. You know, poetry, creative stories. I used to be a reader. I was actually, I'll say encouraged as a light term because my mother was really strict. She actually compelled me to read books every day in addition to what the school district was providing. It didn't matter what my class was providing. I actually was a violinist for a few years as well. I played violin. I mean, not to the anywhere near the point of Honorable Minister Farrakhan, not even close. But I did, play the fiddle for a few years. And along with that, I had, I was in the mentally gifted minors program. Not gloating about it, but it's just, my IQ level was apparently of a surprise to the educational system. So they decided to put me in this category. So my mother would rather forcibly get me to do these English assignments, spelling books, worksheets, workbooks every single day. Throughout probably the latter portion of my primary school tenure, if you will, probably within about 4th, 5th, 6th, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So I had the homework not only from the schools, but I had the homework that I had to do for mom. And I had books to read. So I had Hardy Boy Mysteries, Charlotte's Web, other books like that. Was it conforming? Did I know it was conforming at the time? Don't know. But my maternal grandmother, who also lived up the street from us, used to say that that's the only way you're going to have a chance at life is if you carry yourself in a certain way, whether or not that's interpreted to mean, because you guys aren't there, so I'm telling you, I'm recounting my own experiences here. Okay. So whatever she meant by it is what she meant by it. She said that, in order to make it in the world, just to paraphrase, my grandmother's no longer with me. She passed on 20 years ago. And she actually was born in August of 23. I actually did a show on that, I think. So she always stressed the ability of having good diction, good grammar. My mother, same thing, good diction, good grammar. And having a command of the English language, even though it was the man's language, right? That's what my mother used to say. Even though it was a language of the I won't say it now because I don't want to get a strike, but it's one of those Steve Coakley words. If y'all follow Steve Coakley. So, and touching on my mom and everything, it's basically they thought they were revolutionaries because they grew up in the time of the 60s. My mother was about all of 16 years old when the Watts riots jumped off. had younger brothers and one older brother. Older brother used to be a player there, and then they became quasi-revolutionaries, and then the drugs that was infused in the community. And I'm talking about before the easy rock, because we didn't call it crack in the West Coast until somewhat later. But 78, 79 is when a lot of stuff started hitting the fan. The infusion of street gangs, the infusion of street level narcotics becoming more potent and more readily accessible. And it affected my surroundings. It affected me in a big way, whereby I ended up moving a lot. And I might even be repeating one of my podcast episodes. I don't know, but because I'm going unscripted right now. But I've had to move a lot, and as a result of that, I've attended several elementary schools. I say several, less than 5, more than 2. Several junior high schools and 2 high schools. All because, merely for survival. Moving away from the element, the incursion that was taking place. Not failing to remember where I came from, but things were getting bad. And the writing was on the wall, so we ended up moving. So getting back to my uncle, Brandy. Yeah. So he had this episode, basically ended up being tucked away. Everything was fine. And that's all I remember, getting an A on that paper. I would see him, on occasion. He'd come by because he was the baby brother, and he really, really, really cared about me, cared about my mom. But when he was on that, on that stuff, he was forbidden from coming over to the house for obvious reasons. But I do remember our experiences that we shared together, that, he always, kept a good vibe around him when he saw me, for the most part, when he wasn't loaded. But, those are experiences that I'll cherish and I'll always remember. And I want to be able to pass them down to my son. My son, is a young man now. He didn't grow up in the similar surroundings such as I did, because I kind of kept him away from it. Still keeping him away from it, but I want to make him aware. Not that I'm ashamed of it, but I want to prepare him as best I can. And I became a father, I won't say relatively late in life, but statistically, it is, I won't even say, I don't know, maybe the more advantageous time to even be a parent, because you're actually supposed to be more stable and settled and such in your life, supposedly. I say supposedly because I spent my life just wandering around and not really setting a plan. But what I'm saying is, he lived his life the best that he could. And I was able to get a lot of the positive attributes, I guess you can say, from him and my other uncles, because they were the present male figures in my life that were close to me. They were related to me. So they were the present male figures in my life. So I was able to cast aside the negative aspects of their lives and how they lived, and gravitate towards the more positive attributes of them, each of those men. My eldest uncle taught me how to fight. He taught me how to street fight. He taught me how to not get distracted over the sight of blood. Reason why I say that is because my immediate cousin, we grew up together. And he and I, every time I'd see my other uncle, my Uncle Reggie, he'd come around on the set and we get it on and fight. And it wasn't that we were showing off for him, but he, would show us some moves, because he was institutionalized. He was locked up and, did some time in the pen. And not very long. He mostly did county jail time. And I think he did one bid in the pen. My other uncles, they did time, juvenile time, and county jail time. That's pretty much it. They weren't necessarily career criminals, is what I'm saying. I'm not necessarily trying to clean anything up. I'm just trying to set the stage and let y'all know that I didn't really have it. I didn't really have it all too well coming up, but I made the best of it. Is what I'm saying, right? So Reggie, he taught us how to fight. He basically, every time he'd come around, and if I was with my other cousin, we get a squab on right there in the street right now. Boom. We go to this, the apartment where we lived at back then. It had it had this patch of grass that we used to fight on. And my uncle Reggie would encourage it. He would teach us different things and different methods and stuff like that. And this was like pre NW, pre MMA, pre UFC stuff, you know. And it was straight up and down guttural street fighting, gutter level, survival fighting, ground and pound. That's what we were doing, for the time period of being little kids in South Central. And it was just that one, and I have such really good memories of that one particular, and it was that one particular block. And I believe we were the only apartment right there on that corner, and up the street to the east, going towards the main feeder street. There had to be a cluster of about maybe 10, maybe 8 single family homes. They were built like in the 1930s and 40s. So the area was pretty old, and they weren't really putting a lot of money into it. I mean, there was a diminishment. Opportunities dried up, because this is 20 years after the second migration. I actually just talked about the migratory patterns, not to make it sound like we were animals, but I'm just saying the travel patterns of a group of people during time. There's been the main ones that people talk about are the first and the second migrations, right? But there have been others beyond that. And I believe that even now there's a migration that's taking place up to basically it's a reverse migration. So I don't know if you could say it's a fourth migration, but it's a reverse migration that I've been noticing as those of us who consider ourselves Black. Again, let me just offer this disclaimer. I'm just going to use Black as a term for conversation to be brief, for brevity's sake. Okay. So it is what it is. Anyway, there's an exodus of Black people that are moving back to parts of the South, parts of the Southwest, parts of even, I guess, maybe even the Northeast. But, and I'm one of those that actually, and my in-laws are actually did the same thing. They were out in Southern California for about 40 years, retired from their respective careers, and returned home to where they are in the Southeast. And that is a pattern that has been replicated throughout the span of roughly 10, 15, the past 10, as far as I know about it, within the 10, maybe 15 years that I've been aware of it. And just looking at the data and the numbers, there are the number of us that have been able to tie our ancestral lineages to this area. And then you also see the opportunity, from it's basically an economical standpoint, right? Because where I lived and actually purchased a home was a bit too pricey. It ended up being that way. I mean, it's good if you are on solid footing where you can sell your house and make a profit off of it. But I didn't necessarily get any full rewards. I don't really have a lot to show for that, other than to say that, yeah, I once owned a home. Yes, I'm still in good standing and I can actually, get another loan again, but I just have to get a few other things straight. But, I went through, the course that I went through to where I am today. And I'm proud to say that in 2 days from right now, I will be 55 years old. But part of me asks the question, what do I have to show for having reached this age that I am now? What do I have to show for it? I mean, it's just that It's just that I don't know if it's necessarily pressure, if I'm pressuring myself, and that's highly likely. You know, you want so many things. You want your, especially when you, after you have children. Because like I said, I've had, I became a first time father 16 years ago. Well, I say first time father, but I almost, well, I won't get into that. I'll say I don't have any child support. How about that? And I don't have any of my seeds out anywhere right now. Yeah, I'll be candid. I was young, when I got into a relationship, and I got into a couple situations where, um, I got women pregnant, but yeah, but it didn't go through. None of the situations that involving, the plus symbol coming up, they didn't follow through. So I didn't become a father at age 18. I didn't become a father at age 20, like I had wanted. I mean, I was cool with it. I mean, I was in a position to accept it because I was in the military then, so I would have been able to support the bottom line. And the majority of my friends that I grew up with, or people that are in my peer contemporaries, I'll say, have had children, and they're actually, grandfathers, grandparents right now. I'm not. I came along in life where, I had a house. I was in a relationship with my wife um, for a number of years. We've been married. This marks, what year is this anyway? This is going on 28 years. I've been with my wife for 28 years. My son is 16, and we ended up adopting. We ended up in an adoption situation. I'll get to more of that in a moment. Man, I'm letting it all out, huh? Somebody told me a few months ago, and they don't even support my shows, man. They told me a few months ago that, man, you should be more transparent, man. You should get on there and tell people. You'll never know who you impact. Well, I have. I've had people to tell me things, so that's why I'm doing it. But yeah, a few months ago, I had someone tell me about being more transparent and sharing certain facets of my life. And I said, "Mom, I'm a freaking nobody, man. Nobody wants to hear my ramblings, But hey, and here I am. So I'm gonna be at it. So right now, I'm actually gonna take a bit of a break and come back. I don't know. You know what? It is. I'm showing about 22 after right now. Let me just make it at the half hour mark, okay? Just to keep things even and balanced. So at the half hour mark, about 8 minutes from now, I'll be back on the air. All right. I'm staying logged in. Stay tuned if you're there. And we don't know where this is going to go, but it's going to go somewhere. I promise you. All right. Be right back. Handcrafted beats for your ear hole. You hear that? It's time for me to come back. Oh, yeah, I still got an old school alarm. I'm just setting things up, for the best so I can put together a good show. Some would say, I don't do a show, I do a broadcast or a program. Yeah, this is a program, not a show. We know who that is, right? This is a program, not a show. Shit. Yeah, it is what it is. Welcome to, and guess what? I actually have an overlay of, well, you'll see it in just a moment. It is what it is. I'm not lying to you. That's actually my show. It is what it is show with Dolph Day. I don't know what this is today, though. This is like talking openly within reason. So I'm trying to be reasonable as I'm talking openly to y'all and providing some disclosure, being transparent and fairly open about certain aspects of the way that I view things in life, my approach to such, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, I'm back at it again. And let me take that away from there. But before that, though, I would like to actually play a commercial spot, if you don't mind. I'm sure you won't mind it. Today is not supposed to be the gardening day. It's not supposed to be the day that you guys are chopping up stuff and blowing. Oh, man. That's a whole other story. Today is, I specifically do my broadcasts on Tuesday and Thursdays around the landscaper schedule because I'm accommodating that way. I should show you guys the letter. Actually, I'm going to pull it up right now. This just triggered me because there is a letter that I had received from the management of this property here. Yeah, I'm out of control. I do pay a lease. I'm here on a lease. All right. I don't have my own house anymore. Hindsight being 2020, I would have done away with the partying and bullshit after I got right out of the service at age 21. And I would have focused my attention on acquiring myself some land. Okay, brace yourself from what I'm about to say. But the white boys had that mentality of acquiring land. Because I used to work with people, various capacities, because I actually spent a time, roughly about 10 years driving motor coaches. One motor coach company I worked for was kind of an upscale hoity-toity one where they outfitted what would be normally a 55 passenger motor coach. They changed the seating configuration where it would only fit about 22 people. Conference room in the back, luxury seating, refrigerator on board, sink, all the amenities. And the passengers or the attendants, there would be onboard attendants to accompany the driver and assist the passengers during the course of these scheduled line runs. One of the line runs I used to do was between Dallas and Austin. And occasionally I would run to Houston. I worked for that company for about a year until, I was no longer needed. I'll leave it at that. But that was years ago. It's well behind me now. But anyway, what I'm saying is the people that I once worked with, my coworkers, I remember speaking on a couple of occasions, talking about weekend plans and stuff like that. Hey, what are you doing for the weekend? When I'm going to I'm going to my family farm, or I'm going to my family ranch, or we're going to the lake. And these were two separate conversations at two separate times, and that's the more recent ones. But I've had conversations through the years with white people that I know for an extended weekend. They'd go to the lake. They go to the beachfront property that they had somewhere. They go to the farm or some vacation property they had in their portfolio. I never had that. And oftentimes I've asked myself, why? Was it for financial, mismanagement on my part? Did I not structure my life that way? Did I think it was white boy stuff for me to acquire land for the purposes of for when stuff hits the fan? So yes, I have largely been in a defendant. I have largely been in a dependent position throughout the course of my life, my lived life as an adult, beyond that of being a child. And this has been happening throughout the span of generations within my family, where we wound up being dependent on the system in some way, shape, or form. My mother would deny to you that we were ever on welfare, but I do remember being on food stamps and walking to the store to make purchases. And damn it, this pisses me off because let me pull up this letter that I was talking about because I keep getting damn sidetracked. You can hear the lawn blower in the background. Yeah, I understand. I want to live on, that's the price you pay for living on, wanting to live in a decent area, I guess. I mean, I suppose I should be grateful. But it's just inconsiderate of these people to be doing this in an unscheduled manner. And you know how people with lawn blowers do. I had lawn blowers before, and lawnmowers, you kind of mess with the throttle. Zin, 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 zin. That's what drives me up a wall. And I'm, and I'm not the only one that's here on their computer, at least in this building. I know that. I know because the person next door to me, they work from home. And I'm gonna touch on that in just a moment. I had a recent development associated with that, but I don't want to jump around too much. It seems like I'm scatterbrained, and that's part of the reason why I delayed doing this, delayed ever even doing this podcast stuff, because I got so much on my mind, and it seems like I'm so damn scatterbrained. And I really have stuff together, but then again, I don't. Fault me, I don't care. Oh my gosh. I really want to wring this dude's neck right now, but I can't. Hold on a second. All right, I'm still here. I'm just trying to kind of take out some of that background noise that's bothering the hell out of me right now at the moment. But if y'all can tolerate it, I can too, I guess, right? Anyway, I'm getting ready to go into my next story here about, there was something I wrote. You know what? Let me pull this up real quick. No, I'm not ready to run. Leave me alone. Okay, it's kind of died off the noise. Good. What ended up happening is, like, okay, when if you saw the amount that I pay in rent, you would probably feel the same way that I do about this issue. It's a matter of quality. I guess it's a matter of quality of life per se, and it's impacting my situation. I can't. My studio as it is, I call it studio. But my studio set up as it is, I almost have to get soundproofing because of the way that it's funny because my wife actually said, you need, this is your calling. This is what you need to do. This is what you should actually do. I said, well, I gotta it's not paying the bills. You know, that's chiefly the reason why I would actually be asking for donations, is to actually help out with the just help out a little bit, you know. Okay, so basically I wrote about the landscaping, right? And I'm not going to read the whole letter to you. I'll spare you that. But it was a rather detailed letter that I wrote to the management of my complex. And essentially, I addressed the issue of the sudden noise being generated for extended time periods while I'm working from home, using telecom devices and recording audio content, which gets disrupted from the noises by the landscapers. I'm having to make adjustments for them, and even when I do, they show up spontaneously, it seems. As you guys, and as I'm recording right now, as it's been evidenced here live in the damn stream. So, you know, and I wrote this not just for my own reasons, but I said I think of those who work nights that are trying to get rest, and those others who telecommute for work, but are disrupted by noise from the landscaping equipment. If there's any chance that that they could keep a regular schedule and be a little cognizant about the noise, it would help things. I was just offering notice generally. I'm hoping not to seem unreasonable. Rather nice letter, right? Wouldn't you think so? All right, so guess what I got in response? And I'm gonna read a couple lines into it. Okay. I just suggest, if possible, finding a library or Starbucks to maybe sit at. Let me read that again. I just suggest, if possible, finding a library or Starbucks to sit at. So let me get this straight. Now, my wife told me not to reply to this, right? She pretty much, I won't say begged me, but she said, "Nah, you don't want to do that." Because I feel so damn, yeah, in a way she's right, because, you know, I'm captive in this situation. That's what fuels my frustration about this whole thing, and not having my own space where I can do my own thing, right? So the recommendation, the suggestion of finding a library or Starbucks in COVID season. Right. But after I had fired off, if you will, this letter at the beginning of the month, because, you know, you gotta understand, I just pay rent. So this is like, yeah, I sent it on, well, actually I sent it on the 24th, but I got a response on the 4th. But I did send the rent in a timely fashion. And, well, my rent increased significantly, because, well, I knew when they were doing renovations to the complex and they changed managers. Anyway, the renovations are nice. I give them that. But they've been delayed because, well, at least the pool is done. And there's supposed to be a fitness center redone, and a media center, I guess, or some kind of, you know, basically they've upgraded everything, right? But we're still waiting on those 2 other rooms, but they at least got the pool and everything done. So, okay, I'm cool with that. But yeah, so foolish of me to think that I can actually do a broadcast from my own home and not be disrupted by this landscaping noise, this equipment noise. But anyway, so after I had written this and gotten the reply, there was a survey that came up and that came from corporate, right? So of course, I didn't really reiterate what I said in the letter directly to the management staff here, but I did kind of touch a little bit on it. And then I ended up getting a letter in response to what I put on the survey. And here it is right here. I know you wanted some elaboration on the landscaping schedule. I wanted to break down as to why sometimes it may seem they do not have a set schedule. We are having landscape construction work as well. This is on top of the normal routine landscaping. This, however, is finished. We'll smile. You understand? Okay, now this is the point. The regular landscaping is every Wednesday. What's today? Fucking Thursday. Anyway, all right. That's yeah. I don't really feel. Hey, it goes without saying that I'm grateful to actually have a roof overhead, and that I'm able to actually, even though it's been a struggle, I'm able to actually pay my rent. But like I say, it's been a struggle, man. I can't imagine, and it's not without a fight for being, to maintain some semblance of a livelihood and stuff. And that's stuff that people don't necessarily ordinarily want to talk about nor reveal. And not that I'm, really wanting to hide things, but a lot of stuff is really just not your business. But I'm just, but really though, I was going to talk about the worker, the subway worker who she got suspended. I thought she got terminated. I thought she got fired. But it says here, according to usacrime.com, Illinois subway worker suspended after defending herself during armed robbery. So I'm going to get into that right now. Actually, I was going to share the screen, and hold on, let me enter. I like to jump on my comments right away. Hey, there he is, Forecast Radio. What's going on, brother? Not much, man. Just kind of rambling on right here. So if you can bear with me, thanks for tapping in. I appreciate you. All right. Oh, that was just 3 minutes ago. Cool. All right. I like to stay on top of my comments there. I don't like to leave them in the queue. I don't want to, make it seem like I'm ignoring people. So anyway, I'm not going to respond to that letter, man. I'm just going to leave it as it is and just, whatever. Because I don't want to be one of those residents. I don't want to be one of those, because the minute that I'm like 20 minutes late and turn in my rent or whatever, even though I don't really have it. Yeah, I have it on auto pay. But if there's any complications, I don't want to get targeted. They this whole system, see, that in itself, actually is kind of related to the dialogue of those who are within the Moorish paradigm and Moorish movement, having to do with contractual obligations with elements of the system contrivance. A system that was entirely contrived since basically the Spanish Inquisition, pertaining to, religion, the affectation of religious ordinance and providence in order to set rules, in order to subjugate certain people, relegating them to a status of being subjects. And that is throughout perpetuity. And from my understanding of that is, you're welcome, brother. You're welcome, man. Thank you. Yeah, I appeared on Brother Forecast show, the Forecast Radio last night. I appeared on Brother Bakari's show. And matter of fact, he's going to be, Brother Bakari is going to be doing the show this evening, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If you could put the time up there on the comment on the chat window there, and let people know what time you're going to be on tonight, Brother Bakari. And yeah, I appreciate coming through, man, on your show, Forecast, and I look forward to making appearances in the future. Not that I think I'm anybody special, but I appreciate being able to have the ability to be part of the discussion. That's what it's all about. I'm not trying to be any kind of status or whatever. But speaking of status and that, I actually got a commercial spot to play before I go into this next story. And as I navigate through here, bear with me. And by the way, if anybody that you know or yourself has anything they want to push as far as a product or service,
get a hold of me at noblemormon@gmail.com and we can work something out, because I'm actually offering, since this is just a more or less a fledgling thing, I'm struggling trying to get started. Anyway, I am offering my services to, big up your product or service here for free. And I actually have a podcast channel, and I'll get into that more of that in a minute, but let me play this ad.
Bolster your immune system, help alleviate stress. Take in those minerals and vitamins that you really need. Nutrients like vitamin B, omega fatty acids 3, 6, and 9, and many more nutrients. More Beauty now offers hemp seed oil. We all know that health is wealth. We must do all we can to maintain it. More Beauty offers 100% hemp seed oil, a natural option. Hemp seed oil, available from More Beauty. Order yours today from the embassyofthemoors.org. theembassyofthemoors.org.
And by the way, I'm not sponsored necessarily by More Beauty or the Embassy of the Moors, even though I am involved and associated with that organization. I have purchased this myself, and there's new products that are actually coming out. They're actually expanding their product line involving body oils, or body wash and shampoo. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be actually extended a sample of that probably within the next day or two, just in time for my birthday. So I can wash my hair. So yes, I fully support the product. I am literally supporting my people. 100% hemp seed oil by More Beauty. Pick up your 4-ounce bottle today, and I made it even easy for you to go ahead and scan the QR code to place an order today. It'll be through the Embassy of the Moors, and here's the web address for that, the embassyofthemoors.org. Feel free to take a visit and check it out. Not everything is like you think as far as from the Morris aspect. We're not on there preaching morality. I guess we're not I just made up a word. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but we're not necessarily preaching anything to anybody. We're just basically letting you know a different point of view in terms of more science. And we are working from meeting people where they are, whatever they regard themselves to be as, what do you call it, Hebrew Israelites, Black Power people. I was that not too long ago. I was actually down with the ADOS thing, but I did some reading and asked the question, isn't it more about reclamation as opposed to, relying on a benefit from an occupying government? Are we putting ourselves as a beggar people by seeking reparations? Ooh, that's a topic for a show. Anyway, yeah, it gets complicated and complex and all that stuff, and it's just more rabbit holes. Anyway, feel free to support me. Well, yeah, if you want to get around to it, I'd appreciate it. I'm still doing this kind of like on a shoestring budget, if in that I'm supporting a growing young man. I am pretty much, I stay within legal confines because I don't have bail money. So, but yeah, if you could actually, find your way to support me some kind of way, I do accept donations. No amount is too small. And I'm actually going to post my thank you page just for that particular reason, so you can locate me. But yeah, voice ads is something I do. I actually had a Fiverr account, still have a Fiverr account for that purpose, to do voice over ads. So if you would like to retain me for that purpose, I'm sure going to make myself available to do that. And I am actually providing free services in that regard. I'll do like about a 30-second spot, and we'll play it pretty much every time I do a broadcast. And matter of fact, I need more of them because I don't want to just play this one all the time. But really, there's the QR code actually for my other projects, and that's where you could hook up with me through Facebook, through YouTube, and there is my Cash App. Closed mouths do not get fed. Now, if you have any suggestions for compliments, questions, even maybe some gripes, go ahead and hit me up at noblemormon@gmail.com. That's one of the very many addresses that I do have and operate. Let's see here. Where did I leave off at? I'll get back to it in just a minute. I'm not that far into dementia yet, even though I'm at that age. Well, I'm actually considered a senior. And that is in accordance with advertisements and stuff like that, AARP, and stuff that you see on the Idiot Box or the TV,
nowadays people consider me a senior citizen or about to be. And I actually don't mind it. A number of years ago, a friend of mine was questioning, not really questioning, but had made mention as to them why they color their hair, and suggested that I possibly consider it because, that the gray looks old or whatever. And I said, look, I'm not one of them guys that's sitting in the corner of some 21 and over club trying to hit on broads. So I'm not worried about coloring my hair in. I'm not worried about it. I'm embracing my aging. I love it. As a matter of fact, if the light hits it right, it actually glows. And actually, that's something that I'm working on too. Actually, just by accident. I don't want to let it leak out because I don't want to jinx myself. But I want something to really take care of my beard. And hopefully, maybe someday I'll develop something. We'll see. Let's see where I leave off at. Yeah. So a subway worker was suspended after video of her defending herself during an attempt robbery went viral. Got a cough. Not COVID related. Trust and believe. Drink your water, folks. So, attempted robbery went viral on the interwebs, right? The incident took place Sunday morning at the restaurant located on East State Street in Rockford, Illinois. Arceli Sotelo was working alone that morning when a man with a gun walked in and demanded money. A struggle between the two ensued, and Sotelo said she used the robber's small size against him and was able to get him to drop his gun during the scuffle. Shit, if you ask me, I think that was a good move. Sotelo said the man did not get any money from Subway, but he did steal her purse and broke her phone. Surveillance video from inside the Subway shows the entire incident and was posted online. Now Sotelo says she was suspended from her job. She said she received a call from her boss shortly after, telling her she would not be able to work until the video was completely wiped off from the internet. Quote, I got a call yesterday. It was like, if every one of these videos are not taken offline, you will be suspended. And then I text them and I'm like, how long am I suspended for? They said till everything is removed online. I have no ability to do that, Sotelo said. And she's right. So according to this, being that the video images weren't removed of a robbery in progress that she had nothing to do with other than defending her own life, and the franchisee is telling her to remove the videos or else she's going to get suspended. Disciplinary action for it. Or the owner, rather. Okay. She also said the owner is now ignoring her calls. Subway representatives did not confirm whether Sotelo has been suspended, according to Fox News. Excuse me. Well, that sounds bad. Ooh. Anyway. According to Fox News, instead, a spokesman wrote, we are deeply concerned about the recent incident at a franchise location in Rockford, Illinois. The restaurant owner and management are fully cooperating with the police investigation, and we request patience until that process is complete. Every restaurant is independently owned and operated. We are in contact with the franchisee to better understand the situation and assist as needed. So that's a blanket statement, pretty much. More CYA. All right, so let me get this straight. Someone confronts you with a weapon and you're able to overtake them. And your job wants to suspend you or take disciplinary action for you defending yourself. Well, that wasn't really the main issue. The main issue is the image that they were trying to present, and they wanted that video taken down. Not her problem, not Sotelo's problem. She should call her dad Barry Sotelo, otherwise known as Barry Barack Obama. No, just kidding. Anyway, so she's been suspended, apparently. There was an instance in a Walmart where I think once some security employee there actually body slammed somebody, did a full-on suplex to somebody, and I think Dana White reached out to them and actually, I think, gave them a contract or something. I think, hell, I think she should get something from some of these Second Amendment advocates out there, like Colin Noir, or maybe even NRA, or maybe somebody, that, I don't know, that runs a jujitsu studio should reach out to her. But it would convey that, well, I don't know if it would necessarily convey the wrong image, but she was able to successfully disarm somebody. And that's what a lot of people are failing to realize when it comes to, situations involving the introduction of a firearm to a given situation. And again, I'm not offering any advice. I'm not offering any suggestions. I'm just saying, when it comes to your own survival, you got to do what's instinctively correct and proper. You got to do what you got to do at the time to get out of that situation. And again, well, I'm going to say that I'm expert in terms of gun retention because I trained at it. And I'm probably going to get back into it again, especially as I start, considering carrying more and more frequently. Even when I was on the job, and I hate to keep going back to this, but it's my own major professional experience I've ever had in my life. Even though I've had lots of jobs, I actually, believe it or not, I was trained in the military about water treatment and emergency preparedness and crowd control, because I once served at a nuclear installation that had nukes on it during the Reagan era. So we were taught about skirmish lines, even though I wasn't involved in law enforcement when I was in the service. I actually was what they call a ground pounder. I was a grunt. I was an enlisted man, and I worked at a water treatment plant. Those of you that have been on any military installation, pretty much in the United States, any full service military installation here in this country, understand that they're like small cities. Basically, I worked for the Department of Water and Power. That's kind of a thumbnail depiction of that. So during my hitch, I ended up getting training in water treatment, water purification, as well as the other side, the dirty side, wastewater treatment. So I'm familiar with those vocations. I ended up getting a position at a military base back at my home state, which I tend to have regrets about because I ended up going back home. Well, yeah, this is like 1984, 85. I was coming into my own, 16, 17 years old. And this is an era that a lot of my social life started to flourish. And this is an area of time where there was a transition from, I guess you can say disco, or as far as music and pop culture went, it went from, disco, the disco era, heavy R&B, funk, into, hip hop. I choose not to say rap because rap is a commercialized form within hip hop. Anyway, the hip hop scene came along on the West Coast from a West Coast perspective in that. And anyway, I was kind of somewhat deeply immersed in that whole scene, becoming a DJ around that time. Mainly stuck to doing house parties and maybe some limited auditorium engagements that we did as part of our crew that we didn't really have a chance to really flourish and grow. But anyway, yeah, so I was on the scene. Basically, I refer this to being partying and bullshit, around this time in my life where I didn't really form fully to the level of my own consciousness of who I was beyond being black, even though I was quote unquote high yellow. This is at the time where there was a movie called, there's a movie called Chris Rock movie called CB4 that came out somewhere around the time after the group from Compton, NWA came out. And, I was with that. I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, that character in the movie. And I was representing that. I was also listening to groups like X Clan, Public Enemy, the leather medallions that you wore with the shape of Africa on it. I was kind of into that. I was into De La Soul. I was into a lot of those groups, having been associated with new wave music as well, break dancing and that, pop locking, a little bit of that, very little bit of that. So this area was kind of rich in cultural experiences in that. And I remember when, seeing very popular figure by the name of Ice-T, among others. But one that stands out, I mean, I've seen so many people growing up in Southern California at the time. And a lot of us, believe it or not, I won't say a lot of us, but there's a segment of the population, just because you grew up in the greater Los Angeles area and was close to Hollywood, you didn't necessarily want to be Hollywood. Now everybody wants to be Hollywood, from even what, I mean, it's always been like that, but it's even gotten like that where everybody is wanting to show themselves and show out. I didn't grow up in that kind of with that kind of mentality. We knew Hollywood was there. We knew it for what it was. We knew it was evil. I had an aunt that used to say, I had an aunt by marriage that used to dance on Soul Train. I knew other people that danced on Soul Train. My mother was personal friends with a very well-known recording artist since the days he started playing piano. Originally came from Galveston, Texas. Just recently had a birthday this month, but he's in another form. He transcended forms a number of years ago. So I don't mean to be name dropping and stuff, but he is otherwise known as the Maestro. My mother grew up with him and his wife, his first wife. Anyway, and I met him like maybe once or twice. But going back, there's a lot of influence, a lot of cultural influences I've had growing up. A lot of people ended up working in the industry at some capacity as technicians, or people in front of the camera, or writers, screenwriters. I never went that direction. Basically, it was forbidden for me to partake in anything like that because, growing up, it was kind of forbidden for us. And it was forbidden in that my mother wanted me to do something else. She wanted me to be believe it or not, she wanted to get into politics. Yeah. Or be an attorney. But you do understand, when you are an attorney, you pretty much sign your way. You sign your life away to the crown. You're representing the crown because you're a member of the Bar Association. Bar Association is headquartered in the UK. You're a barrister. So basically, you're representing Rome. Hence, you're trapped. So, and I learned about all this stuff, knowing this before, and it was more emphasized throughout my studies into Moorish science. And mind you, I'm not talking about anything having to do with any religious dogma, and to be open and clear, I didn't grow up in the church because of that. I mean, I used to watch Fred Price, people like that. I used to watch even Reverend Ike when I was real little. My grandmother was affiliated with Jehovah's Witnesses, but she didn't door knock. She didn't do the door knocking witnessing thing, but she used to go to the temple, and I used to accompany her as a kid. But I was always free to decide what I wanted to do as far as my spirituality went. I only went to church pretty much on dates. To be honest. If the young lady I was dating at the time, hey, you want to go to church? Yeah, we'll go. That type of thing. So as far as being that devout or being that studied in religion, I'm not the one. I'm not the guy. You know what I'm saying? I've always been quote unquote spiritual, until I've run across these teachings that are brought forth through, the Moorish paradigm, Moorish science. But I'm still trying to work my way around that. I'm still studying, as it's been expressed that one should do when they reach this pinnacle in their life in consciousness. Consciousness. That's that's the thing. Because you understand. You see, a lot of my fear and really going deeper and deeper as I have been, though, unavoidably, getting deeper and deeper into the science of this related to, Moorish, everything Moorish, is I don't want to get far along in it and realize that I've been studying the wrong thing, wasting my time, or seeing and listening to some of these people and finding out that what they're saying is not so. So that's the reason for my reluctance of becoming further involved, and seeing also too, that there's misgivings about those that have developed this science, which is a social science. But it's also apparently what's also a part of it is astrology or astronomy and cosmology as well. And it's a lot to make your head spin when you see all the materials, or a good chunk of the materials associated with it. It starts to, you see rabbit holes start cropping up around you. And then in so doing, and when you're declaring and asking questions of people in the circle that even may be more knowledgeable than you, there's kind of this inherent fear that I'm noticing, where if you ask questions, there's some people that automatically label you as an agent, that being an agent provocateur. And I think a lot of it has to do with the timing in the era that we're in right now, because some people are so they approach it from the metaphysical realm, as I mentioned, kind of, about astronomy, astrology, and cosmology, those things, which I'm not at all saying that I even have knowledge on, but I'm still learning it. But there's people that are out there that are considered by the masses to be master teachers. And it's not that it's difficult to learn from them, but it's you can pick key points that are valid, but there's others that aren't so valid. Like, well, the issue of redemption and such. I don't even really know how to title some of these things, but the issue that, of redemption, and that this landmass is still Morocco that has been usurped, even down to, the national flag versus what's actually a banner. And those are things I won't really touch on today because it goes rather deep, and it has to do, a lot of it that I'm seeing, though, just to put a package on it here, is that there's a lot of reading comprehension associated with, or that should be associated with this, and the applicable nature within context to which these theories and these practices can be readily applied. Because there are people that would even come down on me right now to even speak out in this manner, saying that I'm promoting confusion, when in actuality, I'm not creating confusion. I'm mainly just trying to figure it out. Because it's even said that, well, not even through the mainstream press, but there's even those that are, I say, more studied than I am, because they're more involved in it, in the movement. It's being called and considered a divine movement. And I have to be honest with you, I haven't really seen much movement. I don't know if it's predicated on fear, or just reluctance of trusting each other in advancing certain information and bringing it forth for people to achieve some level of understanding, of clear and concise understanding of all this. So what I've decided to do in listening to, some others as well, and in comparing notes, is just going by the template itself that was created by someone that was a contemporary. I won't even say predecessor, but I think they followed each other at particular span of time, and that would be, Drew Ali, otherwise known as Timothy Drew, otherwise known as Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Moorish Divine National Movement, or I think the Science Temple of Science, it was called before it became the corporate. I say corporate, but anyway, he was once a contemporary of Marcus Garvey. They were alive during the same period of time. And then you have, because you had at that time, in the 19 teens, well into the 20s, prior to Drew Ali's demise, prior to the demise of Marcus Garvey as well, you had ideologies, divergent ideologies that didn't quite match up. And I submit to you, even now in the 21st century, we have ideologies that don't quite mesh. But we need to identify where we can unify at and meet a common ground. But there's a lot of stigma associated from what I've been seeing with the Moors because of, the affiliation of certain personalities that are associated with it. So it stands to reason why people are reluctant to get involved in this and learn about this, where it can possibly relate. Because there are a number of those that were associated with criminal activities, as reported by the news, the corporate media, the non-independent media. More notable, the group that's called the Rise of the Moors. I'm not necessarily speaking out on it. I have talked about it lightly in different discussions, but when you do think about it, this case happened during what is commonly referred to as Independence Day weekend. And these individuals are still in custody today. So I don't know if I'm qualified to really speak on it that much, other than I can actually, and I have actually shared my point of view relative to the engagement of the stop itself, because it was misstated as being an unlawful detention. It didn't start out that way. And in my opinion, it never was an unlawful detention. Just my viewpoint. But I think I'm gonna leave that alone for right now. There's a lot of things that we have to figure out. There's a lot of things I have to figure out. I need to figure out where I stand, and where I stand is being on my own too. Learning of myself. Seeing what direction this is going to take me. I got to get back to meditating. I've meditated on and off throughout the course of my life, especially reaching early adulthood in my 20s. And, just taking time out to meditate and reaching some clarity in your mind. I want to share a mindful moment with you, which I actually meant to do earlier. And I want to do that with every broadcast that I do. A mindful moment. As you walk to your destination, be aware of your surroundings and the feeling of your feet touching the ground. I believe in that. Definitely. Most definitely. All right, let me see what else I got going here. Did you know that there are 2 United States constitutions? Are you aware of that? Matter of fact, I got something to share with you from none other than Dr. Claude Anderson. But let me go ahead and line this up first. Give me 1 second. I would like to play this for you, if you don't mind. Give me 1 second. Line that up. All right. Let me see here. Hold on. Too much to do here. Hold on.
You got the first Constitution of 1789. That's the 1 through 12 amendment. And those amendments gave whites everything they needed. That's why white folk didn't have all these, they didn't have any big demands other than what was in the Constitution. So from 1789 up to 1860, the first Constitution was in effect, Amendment 1 through 12. But what happened after that was that in 1857, we'll go back about 3 years, you had a black man went to court called Dred Scott. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Sure. He went to court trying to get some freedom based on the fact that he moved across state lines out of the South. He thought he was going to be free. He went to court. The finally Supreme Court ruled against him and said, no, you cannot free. Why? He said, why? And it's basically because in this country, because you're considered to be property. Your property, let me go back in history again. See, I told you in the first, you got two, most people don't know this, but you got two constitutions.
Mhm.
You got the first Constitution of 1789. That's the 1 through 12 amendment. And those amendments gave whites everything they needed.
All right, I didn't mean for that to loop around, but let me add my 2 cents into that. You know, it's all been made complicated by design construct appearing in many facets affecting our daily existence, status, or lack of it, rather, as we assume our affairs only with the notion of being free. This man, Dr. Claude Anderson, rather, a master teacher, has lectured and authored over the span of 3 decades. Yet no remedy, no disposition has yet been reached in the interest of our collective betterment overall. And I just spoke to someone last night who had no clear knowledge of the Constitution itself and the words included in it. And I would say of importance to each of us, you know, as ignorance of the law is no excuse. We need to study civics, law, and the wording within the Constitution. I do believe that it has significant value and importance to each of us in order to, you know, formulate our coalition and come up with a plan to unify. I was actually meant to touch on the Second Amendment last night during the presentation I was involved with, a group chat or group broadcast. And well, first of all, I'm going to read over the Second Amendment, and I also want to read the preamble to you if I could, because this is something I always want to tend to bring up, because it actually has to do with one's standing in law. Going on with the Second Amendment, a regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So let me break this down a little bit, the way I interpret it, okay? So first of all, you have to have a well-regulated militia. So it does not say that you cannot have a well-regulated militia. Being necessary to the security of a free state. A free state. So a state has to be established. It depends on the construct in which you've categorized yourself within. And this is the reason why, for me, that Moorish science, I believe, is applicable from the purview and standpoint of nationality. Proclaiming it within yourself, and at some point declaring it. I'm not saying declaring it on the side of the road is going to benefit your cause. Declaring it on the side of the road at 2:00 in the morning isn't necessarily going to further your cause. It's not necessarily going to be of benefit at that time. Because we all do know that time and timing is everything. Or should realize that. So you have to have a well-regulated militia, meaning that there has to be a decorum, has to be a set of rules, a set of regulations, a set of policies established within the state that you intend to secure. Securing a free state. Asking yourself what a free state is, what a free state can be. It can be a body politic of your people. But we also have to know what comes with that. Codes, policies, its own set of laws, morals, and so on. So you have to be in a particular status, right? A lawful status, a status regarded to be lawful. Because when you are in a disadvantaged status, you lack entitlement of human dignity. The preamble of the Constitution of the United States. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Let me break down what this means to me. First of all, the first three words, we the people. And there's a desire to form a more perfect union, to infer, or maybe even more than infer, that there was a union that preexisted the Constitution, and then it must be perfected. So this was an agreement. This was a contract. This was a trust. That's what the Constitution was. That's what it represented. That's what it is. So we, the people, we have to get back to being the people of the republic. Because in the Constitution itself, you probably heard other people, content creators, even mention this, or other thought leaders, which I don't put myself in that category. Maybe a thought provoker. But the word democracy, Democrat, demos, does not exist at all in this document, in the Constitution. It doesn't exist here. So, and what we were, if you're a bit of a studier of history, which I kind of am, we had a republic confederations. We were members of a republic. We were amalgamated. Those of us who were Moors amalgamated within indigenous tribes, indigenous Aboriginal tribes. From what I understand, Seminole, well, from what I was told through word of mouth, there's Seminole within my ancestral lineage, which explains the title name of Day, which is aligned and consistent with the heritage of the Seminole, so-called Native American, indigenous Aboriginal. So you had these consorts that, well, carried on, happened, occurred, fathering of children, and that. These were the people that occupied this land, that had a treaty relationship with Morocco. Not the country as it is today, not the monarchy, the empire. So these are things that I've tended to bear in mind, realizing that, well, the fix was in. That everything that was done by the people who were here occupying soil before the inception of the colonies, before this land was colonized, it was occupied by a once free and sovereign people. Yes, I use the word sovereign. And it's not associated with sovereign citizen because they cancel each other out. It depends if you're a member of the corporate structure or a member of the republic for which it stands, right? One nation under God. Man, I remember that too. I can't remember the last time I said it. Anyway, so I guess that's my 2 cents as I'm wandering around here. And wow, yeah, Constitutional Convention, September 17th, 1787. How about that? Wow, I just kind of flipped this open here. Ratification resolution of Constitutional Convention in convention, Monday, September 17th, 1787. Man, how about that? I guess I won't bother you in reading that. But Hilldale College, I believe if you go to that website, they offer free constitutional pamphlets. Basically, all you got to do is put in an email and a name. I don't think it's the Boogeyman, but they mail it out, just ship it out to you in a few days. So I have backup copies of the Constitution for myself and for further learning for my son, because basically what I'm trying to do is create legacy. All right, let me see. Taking a break, 5 minutes. I'm only going to go today till about the top of the hour, so I'm going to take about maybe a 10 minute break, and I'll be back at you. Man, I didn't hear my music set up, did I? All right, I'll be back. I'll be back in 5.
Yeah. Oh man, I like that. I like that. I hope you do too. Anyway, I am back again. I'm probably gonna go to wind this thing out. I'll go for another few minutes, probably to the top of the hour, like I said. Hold on, let me make this adjustment. Had to adjust my microphone. I'm sure that sounds a little better. Let's see, where did I leave off at? I don't know, man. Just rambling on. Now, hey, let me explain. This is the live stream of this particular show. And what I do is just try to develop, I guess, conversation in an organic way, right? And presenting my viewpoints about a number of things. And in the process of doing this, what I do is parse out, what I think is going to be a good subject to present for my podcast channel, which is on Linktree. Actually, if you know what, I'm going to leave the Linktree up for those of you out there who might catch this. And I'll put the Linktree up right about now. That's a Linktree down there below on the right-hand side of the screen next to my name under the title Knowledge Seeker, or next to that. And what that is a Linktree to the things that, I associate myself with, among which is the podcast channel, Learn More Truth, Learning More Chronicles. I am a Learning More Knowledge Seeker. And what I'm looking to do is chronicle my experiences in this lane, learning about, a Moorish consciousness and learning more of self. And in so doing, what I want to do is share, things I have to say, my perspective, viewpoints. And I even have some interviews on there on that podcast channel earlier on from a few months ago. And I want to be able to share with people my experience and, a lot of things that are on my mind, and, put them in a package. So what I do typically is I'll go on here live and just let the tape run. But, and I'll have my work cut out for me. But what I tend to do is parse things out and edit things later and present them on my podcast channel for, later listening, for your listening pleasure for later on. Anyway, that is pretty much my method, the method to my madness, which is why I am pretty much trying to stay consistent at coming to you live twice a week on this channel. Whatever I did call it. Learn More Truth. Yeah, there it is. Learn More Truth, kind of play on words. Learning truths about, concepts of my Moorish American consciousness. Simply put. So any old way, shape, or form. I'm not really that multidimensional. I don't really consider myself that worldly. I do consider myself having amassed various experiences through life, among which almost, buying the farm. Speaking of farm, I am actually pretty tempted. I admit to being pretty tempted to possibly looking into living in Arizona. There's this group that I follow that I actually been interacting with, that I just got around today to seeing some of their photo content on their Instagram page. And if you would, please visit their page. It's really interesting. Matter of fact, it's not because they clicked like when I posted, but it just so happens that they did. And what I'm going to do is give you the name of them. I think they're. Let me pull it up real quick. It is the Southwest Black Ranchers, and I gave them a follow some time back because I saw some of the photos that they have on their page, and it says, "Support us navigating waters, making waves, and charting paths towards a future where we belong. Join our support network, Linktree." They also have Linktree Southwest Black Ranchers, and they also have it says Southwest S. I'm gonna get that one too. They have another site too on Instagram, I believe. And you see the photographs are so rich, and it's right here
right in Arizona, and it's something that I've kind of lost track of, man. I mean, I'm seeing, our people in Stetson cowboy hats. I know I sound stupid because I'm out here in Texas, and it's not that I see them all the time, but we do have a segment of the population here, and even in this greater area that I live here in North Texas, that you have we have a lot of cowboys. We're the original cowboys, by the way. And just to be clear, we have done everything. We've started everything. Period. We are the originators of civilization. Period. And social advents that came along with that, whether industry or whatever, commercially, what have you. Well, we've been the innovators of that. And that's why that comes with learning about yourself. Bass Reeves, for one, original Lone Ranger, was basically in what was called no man's land, not far from where I'm at now in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, before it was founded in 1907, didn't reach statehood actually until 1907. Before that, it was considered no man's land, open territory. And guess where all the so-called Indians, so-called Native Americans, and undesirables, Black people, I don't use them synonymously, but it is what it is. We ended up in Oklahoma because they didn't want that land. It was dried up, didn't have any resources until the land rush when resources cropped up. And those resources were, innovations that were made by people that were indigenous and aboriginal to the land. And that's not just history, that's our history of who we are as innovators. Our developments and progress have been greatly misappropriated and usurped. So let me see. So if you can give that channel a view, that would be kind of cool. Oh, no wonder. Okay. This guy's a personal fitness trainer. Okay. So I actually followed another page. His name is James. He's called James Stewart, NASM personal trainer to food and farming with the Southwest Ranchers, creating the change by building the only Black-owned protein ranch in Arizona. And he's got a GoFundMe page up there. So, I'm trying to think if I could perhaps, it'll take me too long to post up something. Actually, you know what? Why not? Why am I going to be lazy? Let me just post this up right now. Shout out to him. That way y'all could that are up there actually tap into their page. All right. Let's see, Southwest. There's another group too that I'm going to mention in just a moment since I typed this in. I can't believe I've been typing since the 9th grade. Got too many things on my plate right now. All right. Let me add that real quick. Do I want it to be a banner? I'm gonna scroll. You're gonna see the bottom ticker. It's just gonna read what it reads. So shout out Southwest Black Ranchers on IG. Okay, I forgot to put a little at sign over there. Somebody gave me a like on my IG right now. I'm actually on another device looking at my IG as we go along. That's why my voice sounds kind of distant. So anywho, y'all, where did I leave off at again? There's just so much I can talk about and not enough time. There really, as I open up my notes, so much to talk about and not enough time. And I was thinking about Arizona. I was thinking about New Mexico. As a matter of fact, I was told in a conversation I was having. It was actually a one-way conversation. I won't say lectured, but I was listening to someone that told me that this whole region is all one big area. From there's no real delineation between Texas all the way out to California. That it's all basically one huge landmass. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, all that. But I'm dealing with it right now. And right now, things are configured in such a way that there are, okay. Oh, I'm gonna have to wind this up. I got done. Okay. Pardon me. I gotta handle this message. This is the beauty of me being a stay-at-home dad. Yep. I'm gonna pick up my son here. He just sent me a message to pick him up. He's done early today, so that's good. He wants to come home, so I'm pick him up. So that works out just great. I'm actually going to be able to wrap things up. Matter of fact, I'm going to head out here pretty soon because I think I ran out of things to talk about. So, anywho, y'all, let me see. Let me go ahead and take this away. Won't need that no more. But yeah, I had some ideas about moving to New Mexico or Arizona. Really, New Mexico being that it's out. All these are desert areas where you can run on solar, and you don't necessarily have to rely on big utility, or you do to some degree, but I'll get into that later. That's another show. All right. If it seems like I'm rushing off, I don't mean to be, but I'm just going over some notes here to see if there's anything else I could talk about rather briefly for a minute. But I am working with an organization, that being the Embassy of the Moors. We're actually looking at, I say we, I'm not really that directly involved. I'm just involved as a contributor, and I happen to know the representative that's running it. We actually live in relatively close proximity to one another. And so I support their products in that. And the mission, I support the mission. And the mission is to actually, acquire some land. And so that's what we're looking at doing as a group organization, try to get some land developed. Also, they have a hemp business, as I've been playing the commercial spot. They actually operate a hemp business operation. It's all above board and everything else, of course. And really, I'm in support of my people any way that I can, even if it's just intellectual property, right? That I've been told that I possess. But again, I go with what I'm, stuff that I'm being told and whatever. I'm not going to get into that now because it's really a deep subject. I'm looking around at things now. I want to see if I can cover something pretty brief. And see, there's I actually wrote a letter to this other content creator that goes by Pocket Watcher, and he actually had posted up some stuff about sovereign citizen Moors and that, and he actually misspoke. But am I in a position to really refute what he's saying? Sure. Anyone could actually raise an objection and bring something to their attention, and I don't know if I'm really going to do that or not. But in my approach to most things dealing with this entire Moorish paradigm, or we as a Black people or as a people, and unifying and working on collaborative efforts to build, my thing is, what is to be done wholesale about everything, right? What is going to be done to reform our situation in the betterment, the collective betterment, the absolute collective betterment of our people? We need to get out from under the establishment. And people say that that's a bit provocative because you're talking about separatism. Well, we all know that integration has not worked, right? The graphics and charts show that, and the societal dilemma that we're left with shows that as well. We're greatly still disenfranchised. We're greatly still disadvantaged. But at the same time, we can't necessarily go by victimhood either, or victimhood principles or victimhood thoughts. I'm dispensing with that. I'm interested in building and developing a means and methods and strategies towards the uplifting of our people. That's what it's all about. All right, this is your brother Dolph Day, Knowledge Seeker, getting ready to punch out here in, I don't know, a few seconds, minutes maybe. I want to thank you for tuning in. And if you caught this on the playback or live, feel free to share and support where you can. And everybody, be well. We'll see you next time. We'll see you Tuesday, if not sooner. And support Brother Bakari's show. I believe he's doing a broadcast tonight, this evening. I might come through. We'll see. And just play it by ear. You know, I don't normally just pop up anywhere unless I'm invited. But hey, we'll see you next time. And if you have a product or service to provide people, let me know. noblemormon.com. .com. I don't even have .com for that. noblemormon@gmail.com. As I select my outro music. I like to do this, man. This is fun. But we'll see you hopefully sooner than later. Peace and love, everybody.